Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gum Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Sam Saraswati Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam. Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Om Bhadram Karni Bhishrunuyama Devaha. Bhadram Pashyemakshabhiryajatra. Sthirairangai Stuštuvagum Sastanubhi. Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu. Swastina Indro Vruddhashravaha. Swastina Pusha Vishwavedaha. Swastina Starkshyo Adishtanemihi. Swastino Brihaspatirdadhatu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Hari Om. There is a very beautiful shloka in Srimad Bhagavatam. The 11th skandha of Bhagavata, there's a shloka, it says, Srishtva Purani Vividhan Jayatma Shaktya Vrikshan Sarisrupan Pashun Ghaga Damsamatsyan Taihi Atushta Hridaya Purusham Vidhaya Brahmavalokadhishanam Mudamapa Deva. Says, Brahmaji, the creator, was creating. It was in his duty, he was creating different beings. He created devatas, he created rishis, he created Gandharva, Yaksha, Kinnaradi. Then he created different animals, Rakshasas, Pishachaha. All the creation was done. But although he created all the beings, he was not satisfied. Like, suppose there is an artist and he paints, he creates many things, but he really feels satisfied when he does his masterpiece. When that masterpiece is created, then only an artist feels that he has done his job. The same way, Brahmaji also created so many beings, then that fullness, that completeness, that happiness, that was not coming to him. Then he meditated and then he created a being known as human being. He created Nara. He created human being. And he felt that now his creation is complete. That's why the creation, human creation, is known as the crest of creation, the completion of creation. But what happened was, when he created a human being in the end, all the other creations, whether Devata, Rishi, and all other beings like Gandharva, Yaksha, Kinnara, Mriga, Pashu, Pakshi, and Asura, Rakshasa, all of them, some material were left over. And when human being was created, all those qualities were joined together and then we are created. That's why if you really watch our own mind, if you watch the human being, we can see that there are different shades in his nature. Sometimes he is so divine. Sometimes he is so wise. Sometimes he can, see, if you see any other creature and compared to human being, we are the only people who can paint, who can dance, who can sing, who can do so many different types of fine arts, creation. We can carve, we can do so many things because of the Gandharvas. And we are basically selfish. We want to take care of our things. We want to protect our own self. That is the animalistic nature. Then comes another shade of our character known as Asurikam. Okay, the shade of Asura. What is the shade of Asura? The shade of Asura is we are ready to destroy another being for our welfare. We are ready to kill. We are ready to go for wars. We are ready to do anything. We are ready to destroy another person, another being, another system so that we can survive. For the survival of ourselves, we are ready to destroy another being. That is Rakshasa or Asura. There is one more, nature in us that is known as Paishachika. What is Paishachikam? Paishachika means a character which can seen in us sometimes that we take pleasure in the suffering of others. When we are happy, when we are enjoying the suffering of other beings, we are in the level of Pishacha. What we call as sadism and all that. Sadism, etc. is a very serious situation. But even if we look at our own life also, whomever we love, sometimes we, make some comments, sometimes unnecessarily. And when the other person is little uneasy or suffering, then we feel good. So when we are taking pleasure from the pain of another being without any cause, that is Paishachika. So in all of us, we can actually see all these traits, all these different kind of, fabrics are there in all of us. So that's how we are created. And we saw that, when we are created, of course, we have a heart, we have different organs. But what is that which made Brahma very happy was, he created a special organ in us, known as a Hridayam. Hridayam means heart. That heart is there in all the beings. No, this is a spiritual heart. Okay, there's a heart, there is a spiritual center in all of us, which has 4 chambers. Like our heart also have their 4 chambers. Like that, the core of human being, also there are 4 chambers. When all these 4 chambers are completely filled, then alone a human being feels that he's complete. What are these 4 chambers? The first chamber that can be filled with comforts, materialistic comforts. We have enough to eat, enough to drink, we have a good place to stay, we have some, mode of vehicles. When we have materials in our life, enough material comforts, the first chamber of our heart is filled. People think that if we have everything, all wealth is there, we will be happy. No, we will know that. We know that. Even though we have everything, even though we have all types of wealth in this world, it's not that we will be happy. Because na vittena tarpaniyo manushyaha. Even a person has everything. He has endless wealth with him. Even everything is with him, he will not be completely happy because only one chamber of his heart is filled. There's a second chamber. The second chamber of our heart can be filled only by love, recognition, connections, people. All of us need a emotional well-being. Just materialistic well-being is not enough for us. See, if you see the beings, the animals of this world, if they have enough food, enough, water, a place to stay, they, in the time of their mating, they have some spouse, they are happy. But we are not like that. Even though our materialistic chamber is filled, we are not happy because we have an emotional chamber where we need emotional balance. We need recognition. We need love. We want to love somebody. Somebody should love us. We always expect that somebody should support us, isn't it? So that is the second chamber of our heart, which needs to be filled with love, recognition, and the society and the family. All that help us to fill the second chamber. Now, there are people where both the chambers are filled, but still, if you ask them, they are not happy. There's a third chamber. You see that this chamber are subtler. The emotional chamber is subtler than the material chamber. Material chamber you can see, but the emotional chamber we can't see. The love and recognition, and that cannot be seen because they are subtler. Subtler than the emotional chamber, there is another chamber which can be filled only with something still subtler like art, music, dance, order. See, all of us, we need an order. That's how we are created. An order should be there. Without that order, without that, symphony, it is difficult for us to live. Whether we are driving, think about it. Anything, any part of our life, there is an order. If that order is not followed, we will not be happy. That's how we are created. We have that need of an order. Okay, so that order can be that chamber can be filled with a good governance. Okay, there's a good governance in the state. Then, but that is not enough. We need music. We need subtle pleasures. Music and dance and art, and all of them are needed to fill our third chamber. But that is not enough. Even as a person is filled with, or blessed to have all these three chambers, still human being is not completely happy. See, nowadays, we are facing so many challenges in the social field. People are not happy. If you compare 100 years before, this is 2025. If you think about 1925, I don't think this much facilities were there in our land. But people seems to be happier. We have so many things, but we are not really happy. So because although these three chambers are filled, we have a secret chamber. No, it's known as royal chamber. What is that chamber? That's what he's telling. Brahmavaloka Dhishanam. Much beyond all this, our physical, emotional needs, there is some space to be filled with spiritual values and experiences. So there is a very subtle chamber in all of us, whether we like it or not, can be only filled with spiritual experiences, which is known as the royal chamber, which is the subtlest of all other experiences. Okay? So these four chambers are known as Purushartha in our system. The first and foremost, what we start with Now we need material benefits. We need material things. That is known as artha. Artha means not only money, all the material benefits, material comforts we need. That's the first chamber. When the first chamber is complete, then we need a emotional well-being that is known as kama. Artha, next is kama. Now, even if both these are all complete, we are not happy because we have a third chamber which can be filled only with dharma. So, artha, kama, dharma. Dharma, which is actually the base of artha and kama also. An order, a system, justice. And then comes a fourth one, which can be only filled with moksha. Spiritual experiences. So that's why all of us, we have, even though we have everything in this world, until and unless the spiritual quest is also answered, our life is not complete. See what happened now we are all going through an education system where the education system is primarily focusing on artha. Now they are talking about how to create wealth, how we can earn wealth, how we can create a very a good life. When you say a good life, what do you mean? See, we always hear about a good life. Okay, what do you mean is physical comforts, a good home and a job and money and all that. But we know that even if we have everything, we see to the West, we see the European nations or America, etc. We see that they may have everything. Are they happy? No. Why? Because more than physical wealth, we need this emotional well-being. That is known as karma. And karma is not enough. Sometimes, in our society, etc., when we say about karma, we feel it's very bad. No, we need that. We need that emotional stability without which life is not complete. Then comes artha, and more than that, there is moksha. Now you see, when Bhagavan created us in this way, in this fashion, with all these four chambers, he understood that this product cannot be introduced into market just like that. This is a very sensitive product. See, when we go to, when we purchase any important or very valuable, equipments from the market, along with that market, we get a small booklet, manual, how to use it. Like that, until human beings were created, Brahmaji was free of thought because they are all controlled. But once the human being was created, Brahmaji felt that there is a need of a manual. So, along with the human beings, he released a manual also, how to use this human life the best way we can. Those manuals are known as Shastra. In our language, we call it Shastram. What is the meaning of Shastra? Shasanat Shastra. Meaning of Shastra is Shasti. Comes from a root Shas. Shas means to instruct. Shas dhatu in Sanskrit, from here only Shishya comes, Shastra comes, all comes from the same root. Shas dhatu, that root Shas in Sanskrit, the meaning is to instruct, to guide, to help. So what is Shastra? Shasanat Shastra. What is the meaning of Shastra? Shasanat. That which instruct us, that which help us, that which guide us. Guide us for what? Guide us to complete all the 4 chambers of heart. Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Not only Moksha. So, the Shastra is that which helps us to live a complete life. How can we live a complete life? How can we fill all the chambers of our heart? So, Shastra is that which helps us to complete, to guide us for a complete life. Shasanat Shastram. Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te Karya Akarya Vyavasthitam. Gita ji says, what to do, what not to do. How we know? Kya karna chahiye, kya nahi karna chahiye. No, Karya Akarya Vyavasthitam. We want to have wealth. We want to have an emotional balance. We want to have a dharmic life. We want to achieve moksha. How? What we should do and what we should not do. Karya Akarya Vyavasthitau Shastram Pramanam. Shastra is the Praman. In Bharata, the Shastras are divided into 3 types. The first type is known as Vaidikam. Second is known as the Vedanusadi. Third is known as Avaidikam. The entire Shastra of Bharatavarsha can be divided into 3 types. First one is known as Vaidika Shastra. Vaidikam means what? That which is related to Vedas. It is somehow one way or other connected with Vedas. So they have some connection, direct or indirect connection with Veda. So all those Shastra which is directly or indirectly connected with Vedas are known as Vaidika. Now, second is Veda Anusari. What do you mean by Veda Anusari? Means what? That which follows Veda. Mean they may not have a direct connection with Veda, but they are not against Veda. They are not anti-Veda. They are not against the principles of Veda. They may not have a direct connection with the Veda, but they accept Vedic literature. That's known as Veda Anusari. Third is Avaidikam, that which is against Vedic principles. Okay, so in Veda Anusari, like Bhautika Shastra, see, people think that, we only know some Vedanta, etc. It's not so. We have Bhautika Shastra. What do you mean by Bhautika Shastra? Physical sciences. Physics, chemistry, biology, all of them. They are all part and parcel of, we call it Shastram. Now, so Urja Tantram, Rasa Tantram, they are all Shastra. So they are all known as Bhautika Shastra, physical science. They are all part of Veda Anusari. They are not against Veda, but it may not be, very much connected with Veda, but they are in accordance with Vedic principles. Bhautika Shastra. Another Shastra which is Veda Anusari is Tantra Shastra. The moment you hear Tantra, people get frightened. Okay? Actually, the meaning of Tantra is applied science. Please don't get frightened with the word Tantra. No, some people think that Tantra means black magic. It's not so. Tantra means applied science. Any applied science is Tantra. That's why physics is known as Urja Tantra. The word for physics in Sanskrit is Urja Tantra, means that applied science which is related to the Urja, energy. The chemistry is known as Rasa Tantra. Tantra means application of rasa, chemicals. So like that, So Bhautika Shastra and Tantra Shastra, they are all comes under Veda Anusari. Now there are Veda Viruddha, known as Avaidika Shastras also, like Jainam, Bauddham, Charvakam. You know, there are Shastras which are against the Vedic principles, like as I said, Charvaka means Charvaka science means what you call today as the what we call as today's materialism. Okay, the only purpose of life is khao piyo maujuda. That is known as Charvaka. That is nothing. Basmi bhudasya dehasya punaragamanam kutaha. One day our body will get ashes. What is there to come? Just as long as you live. Ranam krutva ghritam pipet. You take debt, you take whatever, and then as long as you are living, you enjoy your life. So that is Charvaka. Then comes Bauddham, and then comes Jaina. Okay, so they are all Avaidigam because they are not taking the support of Veda. That's okay. Many of the Veda Anusari also not taking support, but they are opposing the principles of Veda. Okay, so these are the three types of Shastra. Now Veda Anusari and Avaidika, etc. will not get much time. Now let us focus on the first one, known as Vaidika. What do you mean by Vaidika Shastra? The Vaidika Shastra means that which is related to Veda. Okay, we call this Vaidika Shastra as Vidyasthanam. Vidyasthana, the source of knowledge. Vidya, what is Vidya? Sa Vidya ya Vimuktaye. That is Vidya which actually help us to liberate. Not only the final liberation, I am hungry, so the hunger, the liberation from that hunger is food. So Vidya is not only some physical, spiritual science, any science which help us to come out of a difficult situation is Vidya. Okay, so in Indian understanding, the Vidya is divided into two types, Paracha, Aparacha. Paravidya and Aparavidya. So, Vidya means that which help us to Sa Vidyaya Vimuktaya. So, Vimukti is not only the liberation. So, I have an emotional need. Okay, so there is a science which helps me to come out of that emotional need is also Vidya. I have no food. So somebody help me to, some knowledge which help me to earn food is also Vidya. Okay, so Vidya is of two types. One is Apara, another is Para. What is Apara Vidya? All the physical science. That science which help us to fulfill our Artha, Kama and Dharma. That Shastras which help us to, to have food and accommodation and then job and our emotional needs and all that, a system, a governance, all those are known as Vidya. Vidya means, the Apara Vidya means that Vidya, that knowledge of the world. So what is Apara Vidya? Worldly knowledge. The knowledge which is related to the seeing. We see the world, and that knowledge which is helping us to see, understand what we see is known as Apara Vidya. And there is another Vidya known as Paravidya, that is known as that Vidya which help us to understand ourselves. Yah kya hai? Aparavidya. Main kaun hu? Paravidya. Who am I? What is my true nature? Now, what is my mind? What is my intellect? Why I am going through so much of emotional imbalance? Why I am suffering? When we are thinking about ourselves, about my nature, my understanding, my needs, then that vidya is known as para. And all that knowledge which is there in the world, about the world, is known as aparaj. Okay? So in Vidyasthana, Paravidya will also there, Aparavidya also will be there. Okay? Now, what do you meaning of Vidyasthana? The seeds of knowledge. When I say knowledge, it can be para also, it can be apara also. Both are Vidyasthana. Okay? There are 18 Vidyasthana. In our Sanatana Dharma, we have 18 seeds of knowledge. The knowledge is not like the many other culture where they have one book and one God. We have libraries. If you really want to know what is our religion, what is our culture, reading one book is not enough. We have to go to a library because it is so. We have 18, seeds of knowledge. Known as, what do you call them? Vidya Sthana. Please say so that, sometimes when we speak, when we say, something goes inside. So, what do you call them? Vidya Sthana. 18 Vidya Sthanas are there. Okay? What are the 18 Vidya Sthana? First one is known as Vedaha. The Vedas. How many Vedas are there? 4. Which are they? Rig, Yaju, Sama, and Atharva. So there are 4 Vedas. Now, there are 4 Upavedas. For each of this Veda, there are Upavedas. Okay? The Upavedas are, the first one is Ayurveda. The first Upaveda is Ayurveda. Second Upaveda is known as, what do you call? Dhanurveda. The Yajurvedas, Dhanurveda. Third is known as, which is related to Sama, known as Gandharva Veda. Fourth is known as Sthapatya Veda. Ayurveda, which is related to health and the body. Dhanurveda is about weaponry and war tactics and all that. Gandharva Veda, about music and dance and all different fine arts. And Sthapatya, about Sthapati, architecture, buildings, engineering and building and an architecture. All that comes under Sthapatya Veda. These are the 4 Upavedas. 4 Vedas, 4 Upavedas. Then comes Veda Angaha. Veda Anga means all that knowledge what we need to understand and interpret Veda in the right way. If you want to use Veda in the correct, right way, we need different, knowledge. Not only just studying Veda will help. All that knowledge which will help us to understand and apply Vedic wisdom is known as Vedangaha. There are 6 of them. They are Shiksha, Kalpa, Chandaha, Niruktam, Jyotisham, Vyakarana. These 6 are known as Veda Angaha. Which are they? Shiksha, Kalpa, Chandaha, Nirukta, Jyotisha, and Vyakarana. Shiksha is phonetics. Shiksha means how to pronounce Veda, how to pronounce, how to chant Vedic mantra. It's known as Shiksha. Kalpa means how to apply the Vedic principles. Whether you want to do a yaga, a yajna, you want to conduct your sons or daughters' marriage, or you want to do anything related to our life, how we should do things in our, whether it is religious or whether it is yajnic systems. So that all, how to apply the mantra. See, Agnimile Purohidam is there. But how to use that Agnimile Purohidam in our day-to-day life, that is Kalpa will teach us. Chanda is the prose. This prose and poetry. So Chandas is actually about the different meters of the Veda. And Nirukta is the etymology. So there are words in the Vedas used in what meaning. So the same word like Gau. Now, Gau is a word. So now the Gau is generally we use for cow, but not everywhere. In Veda, sometimes Gau means Bhumi. Sometimes Gau means Veda. Sometimes Gau means Indriya. So we should know that in which meaning that word is used in the Veda, then only we can interpret it correctly. So the Nirukta will help us to understand the etymological meaning of words. That is known as Nirukta. And Jyotisha is Jyotisham Ayanam Chakshuhu, the movements of heavenly bodies. The study about the sun and the moon and the Mars and the grahas and all that, how they are moving, how their life, their movements are affecting human life. We know that, tides, etc., everything is happening because of these heavenly bodies. And the Jyotisha help us to understand the movements of the heavenly bodies, and which help us to live a comfortable life. Jyotisham. Next is Vyakarana, grammar. Without Vyakarana, I will not be able to express. Now, when I say something, you are able to understand it because there is a grammatical order. If there is no grammatical order, we cannot communicate. The communication becomes easy by the Vyakarana. So these are the 6 Vedankas. Which are the Vedankas? Shiksha, please tell. Kalpa and Vyakarana. So 6 plus 4 plus 4, 14. Next comes Purana Itihasa. Purana and Itihasa. Next is a combination of Puranas and Itihasa. Which are the Itihasa? Mahabharatam and Ramayana. Ramayana and Mahabharata are the 2 Itihasas. And there are Puranas. 18 Puranas are there. Okay? Madvayam, Bhadvayam Chaiva, Bratrayam Vachatushtayam, Anapalinga Kuskani, Puranani Prachakshate. Which are the Puranas? Madvayam. There are 2 Puranas starting with Ma. Which are they? Markandeya Purana and Matsya Purana. So Matsya and Markandeya starting with Ma, Madvayam. Next is Bha Dvayam. 2 Puranas starting with Bha. Any guess? Bhagavatam and Bhavishyat Purana. Bhavishyat Purana means talking about the future. Okay? So 2 Puranas are there starting with Bha. Bhadvayam, Bhagavata Purana and Bhavishyat Purana. Madvayam, Bhadvayam Chaiva. Next is Bra Trayam. 3 Puranas starting with Bra. Brahma Purana, Brahmanda Purana, Brahma Vaivartaka Purana. Which are the 3 Puranas starting with Bra? Brahma Purana, Brahmanda Purana, Brahma Vaivartaka Purana. These three Puranas are starting with Bra. So Madvayam, Bhadvayam Chaiva, Bratrayam. Next is Va Chatushtayam. There are 4 Puranas starting with Va. Vayu Purana, Vishnu Purana, Vamana Purana, Varaha Purana. These are the Va. Vayu, Vishnu, Varaha and Vamana. These 4 are Vachatushtaya. Next is a Sutra Vakya. Anapalinga Kuskani. Anapalinga Kuska. So this is actually the first letter of each Purana. Agni Purana. Agni Purana. Narada Purana. Padma Purana. Padma Purana. Linga Purana. Garuda Purana. Garuda Purana is very famous. No? Garuda Purana. Kurma Purana. Skandha Purana. Okay, so all of them together, Anapalinga Kuska ni means Bahuvajana. So Anapalinga Kuskani, Agni Purana, Narada Purana, Padma Purana, Linga Purana, Garuda Purana, Kurma Purana, and Skandha Purana. So this all together becomes the 18 Puranas. Madvayam, Bhadvayam Chaiva, Bratrayam, Vachatushtayam. Anapalinga Kuskani Puranani Prachakshade. These are the Puranas. Now, many people, see, all of us also, if somebody asks us, what is the difference between Purana and Itihasa? Itihasas are Mahabharata and Ramayana. And these are all Purana. What is the difference between Purana and Itihasa?
Purana might be mythological, but Itihas should be perfect. There should be no errors.
Yeah. This is a Western concept. They brought this word mythological. Have you ever checked the meaning of mythological? Myth. Myth means that which never happened. So, see, the West brought this idea of mythology, and we call everything mythology. When we call a Shastra mythology, what we are telling is that never happened. But the Purana is not actually mythological. Okay. So the Puranas, there are Puranam Panchalakshanam. There are 5 things which should be there, then only it will be known as Purana. Okay. Sargascha, Pratisargascha, Vamsho, Manvandaranicha, Vamshanu Charidam Chaiva, Puranam Panchalakshanam. The Pancha there are 5 Lakshanas for Purana. Sarga. Sarga means how the creation started. Sarga means the original creation. The creation from the Lord. Sarga. Pratisarga means with that how the secondary creation started. Sarga, Pratisarga. Third is Vamsha. Vamsha means different lineage of the rishis and Manushya and Devatas. That is not a Vamsha. Next is Manvantara. Manvantara means the periods of time. The entire day of Brahma is divided into 14 Manvantaras. See, one day, in our one day is divided into 12 hours. Like that, Brahma's one day is divided into 14 Manvantaras. In each Manvantara, there are, 71 Chaturyuga. And like all that matter. So, who will be the Manu, who will be the Indra, all that knowledge is known as Manvantara. Then comes Manvantaranicha, Sargascha, Pradisargascha, Vamsho Manvantaranicha, Ishanu Charidam Chaiva. And Bhagavan's incarnations, what Bhagavan did in all this time. So this all put together becomes Purana. And Itihasa Itihasa may not mention all these things. Itihasa is focusing on Vamshanu Charita. The Charita of a Vamsha. Like the Ramayana is focusing on Surya Vamsha and Mahabharata is focusing on Chandra Vamsha. As part of it, so many other things are discussed. But the entire focus is about a Vamsha, a lineage, a person, a set of people. But in Purana, sometimes there are stories of such things, but it is not focusing on either one Vamsha or anything. There are so many, different topics are. If you read Bhagavad itself, only in the 10th skanda, Bhagavan's Katha comes. In the other skandhas, there are so many other, all this, Sarga, Pradisarga, all that will be discussed. That's the difference between Purana and Itihasa. So in Purana, Itihasas are together, becomes the 15th Vidyasthana. 16th Vidyasthana is known as Nyaya. Nyaya here means logical thinking. The logic. When you think, you should think logically. If you don't think logically, if you don't speak logically, then there is no purpose of dialogue. Kuch bhi karte ja rahe hain, what is there's no meaning. The Shastra teaches us how to think logically and how to produce logically. So, that is also Vidyasthana known as Nyaya. Nyaya Vistar. Then comes Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra. How to live a dharmic life as a student, as a householder, as a merchant, as a king, as a priest, as a teacher. What are the values we should cultivate? How should we live? How should we conduct in our life in different, in each one of us, our different stages of life, as a student, as a householder, as a retired, as a sannyasin, how we should live. If I am a teacher, how should I live? If I am a merchant, if I am a farmer, if I am in each and every moment of our life, stage of our life, how we should conduct ourselves. So, that is the main focus of Dharma Shastra. The Smritis comes under Dharma Shastra. So, 17. Now comes the last one, which is our subject, known as Mimamsa. Mimamsa, Tama, Pujaniya Vicharaha. The word meaning of Mimamsa is Pujaniya Vicharaha. Means deep thinking about subtle matters of life. When we are not just, about what is happening, whether the sun is rise, when we are starting to think about the essence of life, the questions of life, what is life? Why are we here? What is the purpose? So, when we start to think about that, that is known as Mimamsa. Mantum Icha. Desire to know something in deep is known as Mimamsa. Okay? So, when we are talking about Vidyasthana, the word Mimamsa is actually standing for another word which generally we use, Darshanam. Have you heard with this word Darshanam? Yeah. So, sometimes people use the word Darshanam in English as philosophy. But philosophy and Darshanam are in some aspects they correlate, but we cannot actually translate the word Darshanam into philosophy. Why? Because philosophia means love for knowledge. If you study, whoever studied Western philosophy, the Western philosophy is focusing on subtle aspects. Okay, they keep on thinking about what is righteousness, what is love, what is understanding. You know, they take up a term and then they keep on, thinking about those concepts, and then they have hypotheses, and then there is a system for them. So that is known as philosophy. Now, what about darshanam? Darshanam is little different from philosophy. Of course, philosophy is there in darshana, but darshana is much, much bigger. What is the meaning of darshanam? The word meaning of darshanam is darshayati iti darshanam. What's the meaning of darshanam? Darshayati iti, that which shows us. Darshayati. Darshayati, that which help us to see, understand. So what is darshanam? Darshayati iti darshanam, that which help us to see. See what? See what? Margam. Kim darshayati? Margam darshayati. That which shows us the path. Kim nama darshanam? Margam darshayati iti darshanam. That which shows us the path. Path. Marg. Kiske liye? For what? Says, laukikam paramarthikam cha jivanam. Sukhena sadhayitum margam. A path, a way to live full life. Laukikam, or physical, and paramarthikam, the eternal life. Laukikam paramarthikam cha jivanam, our life. Sukhena sadhayitum margam. How can we have a full life? What are the ways by which we will be able to fulfill our life in different layers? That is known as darshanam. So darshana is not just some thinking or some concepts. Darshana is that which actually helps us to find the path. A path for complete life. A path which will help us to live a complete life here and hereafter. A life which will give us meaning for our external existence and internal fulfillment. So that's why it is known as darshanam. What is darshanam? Laukikam paramarthikam cha jivanam. Jivanam, life. Sukhena sadhayitum margam. How can we live a complete, perfect, balanced life? That science is known as darshanam. That is the 18th Vidyasthana. Okay. Now, this darshana is classified into two types of darshana. One is known as nastikam, another is astikam. We use these words, nastik and astik. What is the meaning of astik and nastik in our language? Yeah. So generally we use the word nastik for a person who does not believe in God. Generally. And astik means a person who believes in God. But in darshana, it is not so. In darshana, astik means that philosophy which believes in Veda. So astika is not that something which believes in God, but that which believes in Veda as a pramana. Those philosophies which accept Veda as a pramana. What do you mean by pramana? Proof. No, pramayaha karanam pramanam. What is pramana? Pramayaha karanam pramanam. Pramayaha Karanam. Now, there's a word prama. What is prama? Oh? Affirmation. Affirmation. Prama means yadhartha buddhi, true knowledge. Yadhartha buddhi, the right understanding. Okay? So, what is this? When somebody asks us, what is this? We say, this is a book. How do we know? Pratyaksha. You directly see this. So, pratyaksha, anumana, these are all prama. So, there are philosophies in India which accept Vedas are one of the means for right knowledge. Means for right knowledge is known as pramana. So those darshanas, those philosophies which accept Veda as a pramana, they are known as astika darshana. If there is a philosophy which will not accept Veda as a pramana, then that becomes nastika darshana. So there are astika and nastika darshanas in Bharata. What are the nastika darshana? As I was telling, the foremost nastika darshana is Charvaka. Nastika darshanam, first one is Charvaka darshanam. What is the meaning of Charvaka? Charu vak. Very pleasing words. That's the meaning. Charu vak. No, very pleasing. What is that? See, coach, don't worry about anything. You just live a licentious life. Cow, pure. What is there? There is no God. There is nothing. There is, that. This kind of very pleasing to hear. There is no papa. There is no punya. There is no afterbirth. There is nothing. So it's very nice to hear. That's why it's known as Charuvaka. Charvaka. Okay, where they do not accept in punarjanma or anything, very materialistic kind of a thinking is known as Charvaka. Next comes Bauddha. Bauddha, I'm sure many of you have studied about Bauddhism. Bauddha, there are two paths in Bauddha Mata. One is known as Mahayana. The second is known as Hinayana. They do not call themselves Hinayana, okay? They call themselves Theraputta, okay? But Mahayana people call them Hinayana. So generally we use these two words, but Hinayana people themselves, they will call them Hinayana. This one is Theravada. Okay? So Mahayana and Hinayana are the two mata, two branches of Bauddha philosophy. Each these two philosophy, these two mata, they have independent philosophies. The Mahayana, they have two philosophies of themselves known as Madhyamika and Yogacara. Madhyamika and Yogacara. Madhyamika and Yogacara are two philosophies of Buddha. This belongs to Mahayana Buddhism. The Madhyamika Vada is also known as Shunyavada. I'm sure some of you might have heard this word, Shunyavada. Okay? That is Madhyamika, Shunyavada. And the second category, which is known as Yogacara, is known as Vijnanatmavada. If we start to just even tell what this is, it takes days. Okay, so but at least we are now. You came here now. You started to started this path of philosophical thinking. So at least some basic general knowledge we should know. That's why I am introducing all these words. At least when you hear, oh, Vijnanatmavada, Shunyavada, something, oh, some kahin kuch suna ho, istitna to. Okay, so Shunyavada is Madhyamikam. Vijnanatmavada is Yogacharya. Both of them are part of Mahayana Buddhism. Hinayana Buddhism, they also have two philosophical stands known as Sautrantika and Vaibhashika. Sautrantika and Vaibhashika. Sautrantikam and Vaibhashikam. So these are also total 4 philosophies in Bauddha Darshana itself. What are they? Madhyamika Darshanam, Yogachara Darshanam, Sautrantika Darshanam, and Vaibhashika Darshanam. So all these 4 philosophies, they are all independent philosophies which comes from Bauddha traditions, which is called as, in our tradition, Nastika Darshana, because they are not accepting Veda as a pramana. Okay, so Charvaka Darshanam, Bauddha Darshanam. Now comes the third category known as Jainam. Jaina Darshana, the philosophy of Jina, the philosophy of Mahavira and other saints of the Jaina Patha, it is known as Jaina Darshana. Okay, so all these 3 together, actually 8, and then 6, 4 of the Buddha, Charvaka and Jaina, they are named as Nastika Darshana. Swamiji, so we started with the Shastram. So what is Shastra? We said. And then the Shastra can be classified into 3 types. Which are they? Vaidika, Vedanusadi, Avaidika. And then we said that Vaidika Darshana is of 18 types. Okay, there are 18 Vidyasthanani. The 18 Vidyasthanas are 4 Vedas, 4 Upavedas, 6 Vedangaha. Then Itihasa and Purana, and then Nyaya, and then Dharma Shastra and Mimamsa. Mimamsa is otherwise called as Darshana. Darshana nama philosophy, that which shows us the path. Darshayati iti darshana. Okay, the darshanas are classified mainly into 2 types. One is known as Astika Darshana, another is known as Nastika Darshana. Nastika Darshana means that darshana, that philosophies which do not accept Veda as a means of knowledge, pramana. And they are mainly 3, Charvaka Darshana, Bauddha Darshana and Jaina Darshana. Bauddha Darshana offers 4 standpoints. There are 4 philosophical standpoints in Bauddha Darshanam. One is known as Madhyamika Darshana and Yogachara Darshana, which are part of the Mahayana Buddhism, and Sautrantika and Vaibhashika Darshana, which part of the Hinayana Buddhism. So this much is known as the Nastika Darshana. Now what about Astika Darshana? Oh, Astika Darshana is also a vast ocean, which we will see tomorrow morning. Okay? Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.